Welcome to part two of my interview with Jenn Kautsch, sober cis movement leader and precious woman of God. Jenn and I sat down for like 90 minutes of the most amazing convo. And as I was reviewing the tapes and about to post the podcast, I just knew it had to be a part one and a part two because there was a very significant shift in the flow of our conversation. And so this is part two of my convo with Sober Cis movement leader Jenn Kautsch. Join us now.
I write this in my book. You've probably read this. I didn't have a drinking problem as much as I had a thinking problem.
Oh,
My thinking, that my belief system, my thinking, my beliefs from just the outside world, my beliefs about my internal world were just a little off. They weren't always off, but somewhere they got off. And guess what? You can get them back on. You can retrain your brain. You can take those lies and you can replace those literally with the truth, and it can change your life.
and you have so many practical tools.
Yeah.
And so when you were finding that at the end of the day, alcohol always broke its promises to you, right?
That's
And
right.
it's sort of like, and then I'm sure the condemnation and the heaviness as you're going to
Oh,
bed and you wake up in the middle of the night and
yes.
so you're probably, what was that moment when it was like, okay, time out.
Enough's enough. Yeah.
Yeah, let this game of the detox retox. I totally hear what you're saying. What
Yes.
kind of, as you recall, what kind of helped you then to to jump out of that onto
Yeah. Something had to give. Something had
yes.
to change. And you know what, Denise, for me, it wasn't a big rock bottom experience. I didn't get, a DUI, or I didn't have, people coming to me talking about my drinking. It was really more of an internal battle than it was an external something that caused me to want to change. It was this internal
Yeah.
struggle and mental tug of war that was wearing me out. It was wearing me down. I was
Yes.
so stuck and so uncomfortable being uncomfortable, but going nowhere. And so I was like, what if I could be uncomfortable and actually do something different with my life? And I think God, in his kindness and in his
Mm,
mercy, at that time in my life, knew that I was ready. And I think,
mm,
when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And
mm.
God's allowed me to pay that forward and now be the teacher for others. But
Yes.
for me, at that time in the spring of 2017, my daughter had just graduated high school. She was kind of getting to make a new pivot in her life. She was getting to reinvent herself. We'd made it through that 13 to 18. For her was my 40 to 45. So I was coming up upon 46. And I thought, you know what? She gets to go off and do new things and kind of reinvent herself where people don't know her as she was in high school. She can go somewhere new. What if I could do that? What if I could start new? And what if I started with myself? What if I just started with the inside job? And I thought, you know what? It's actually a no brainer. If there's anything I can change in my life that is not aligning with who I truly am, and that could
Mm,
be the lead domino, like what could, if I could just knock this down first, what else
mm.
could knock down? I
Wow.
wanted to lose some weight. I wanted to feel more energy. I wanted to sleep better. But I
Mm,
knew if I could change my relationship with drinking, a lot of those things would follow, but I just didn't know how. And
wow.
that's when I started hearing these terms that I'd never heard before, like sober curious. What?
Mm,
I didn't know you could be curious about anything to do with the word, even sober was so stigmatized to me and so loaded with stereotype.
right, right.
I think we're still fighting against that out there, especially in the Christian mom world. You talked earlier about guilt and shame. I think we have that already as moms. We've heard the coined phrase mom guilt.
Yes.
Try Christian mom guilt struggling with wine. Oh, it was like a trifecta. And so
Wow.
I didn't know that you could be curious about your drinking out loud. I just thought it's black and white, all or nothing. Either you have a problem with drinking or you don't. And if you do, then you're an alcoholic. That's what that's called. And this is what you do over
Mm,
there. And it's a little bit shunning, fear-based, shameful labeling. in my opinion. And again, I'm here for all forms of recovery for people, whatever helps. And quite honestly, if a label helps someone, do it, use it. For me, in the gray area, which you mentioned at the beginning, and we can talk about that. For me, in the gray area, I didn't even know there was a drinking spectrum. I didn't even know that you could be anywhere on that drinking spectrum if you were a drinker at all. And so for me, I was like, oh, if we're talking about a spectrum, I definitely fit in the middle. I can take it or leave it. I can wait until 5 o'clock. I can do a lot of those things.
Yeah.
But am I leaving it more than taking it? No, not really. Can I go for stretches of time without a drink? Yes, I'm not physically addicted, but mentally, emotionally, do I feel deprived? Do I feel
Mm.
miserable? Do I feel left out? Yes. So
Mm.
to have resources begin to emerge that I felt like we're meeting people in that gray area, podcasts, books, just the whole conversation was shifting to words like alcohol-free living, like a lifestyle, like kind of like people are gluten-free
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
vegan, or you know, or they have a sugar craving. What if you had an alcohol craving? It is basically sugar. What
Yeah.
if, yeah, what if you could be alcohol free and it be socially acceptable, like being gluten free without having to pile on more labeling? What if you could change your relationship with drinking at any time and for any reason, instead of having to be at the end of the spectrum, at the end of the line where your hand is kind of forced and you almost have to because you've lost everything or there's a big
Yeah.
rock bottom? What if we could be proactive and actually look at our relationship with alcohol and renegotiate it so that it was aligning and it was healthy? And
Mm.
for some, that may be not drinking at all. For others, it may be just drinking less or more mindfully. And that's why I brought in Sober Sis, because we're not really a sobriety club. We're not really about everyone having the same exact journey or coming into Sober Sis and saying, I'm never drinking again.
Yeah.
But what if you just wanted to start by taking a break or challenge yourself to some time where you just set it aside? And I think that's what changed for me was this
Mm.
this approach of curiosity
Mm.
more than performance and perfection and all or nothing and
Mm.
labeling and so binary and so linear, but instead really opening up the conversation to go, how's that working for you? Not working great. Why? The detox to retox loop. Oh, and I'll finish real quick on the retox side. So I would finish that bottle of wine in the bathtub, say goodnight to everybody, just kind of glide into bed. Actually, 20% of regular drinkers use alcohol as a sleep aid. I didn't know that, but I was actually in that category. I was
Wow.
actually having the glass of wine at 5 o'clock to just relax. I was
Mm.
having the glass of wine at the end of the night to go to sleep and kind of knock myself out mentally from all the overthinking,
Mm.
worry, anxiety, even the anxiety of, oh no, I've done it again. Even that I could quiet. And I
Mm.
thought it was helping me sleep. Again, I didn't know the science behind alcohol at that time. So, knock, 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 the 3 a.m. wake up call would come.
Mm.
And if any of you have ever had the 3 a.m. wake up call, whether that's from drinking one or one too many, it is a scientific thing where everything that goes up must come down. And so that is the euphoria and the bliss you feel
Mm.
from the initial drinking actually comes down usually around the middle of the night. And that's when you wake up with a little bit of a maybe a racing heart and actually more anxiety than before you were drinking at all. And then
Wow.
that's when the loneliness, the despair, the I'm a
Mm.
loser, the I'm not doing this again. And then you wake up to start the loop all over
Mm.
again. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I love you. Thank you for your
Mm.
unconditional love for me. Oops, I
Mm.
did it again. I wasn't going you, but you understand. Thank you for your
Mm.
grace and your mercy. Help me today. And then it was just more willpower and more trying, somewhat in my own efforts, and also trying with the limited amount of tools I had. I just
Mm.
did not have the tools that I needed to navigate wine o'clock effectively and feel good about it and not feel like I was, again, depriving myself, missing out. Because I could do that, but not every night and not forever.
No, it's so interesting that you didn't have a drinking problem, you had a thinking problem. And I think so many people really aren't thinking, but it's obvious you've gone deep, deep, deep on the thinking and really broken this down to create tools for women to use. As you look back, what would you say have been the most surprising benefits of your renegotiation with with consuming alcohol in its many forms? What
Yeah.
in your health, mentally, spiritually, relationally, what would you highlight?
Yeah. Well, the word that comes to mind immediately is just freedom. Freedom. That's
Mm,
what I wanted. I didn't want to just, I wanted to not want it, but I didn't want to focus so much on my behavior because that didn't feel free. I wanted
mm,
freedom, which to me
mm,
is being aligned in mind, body, spirit. I'm actually, Paul talks about in the Bible, why do I do the very things I do not want to do? To me,
mm,
freedom is going, now I know how. I've got the power, I've got the strength, I've got the practical tools to do what it is I want to do. And that feels like freedom. And
mm,
so for me, mentally and emotionally, oh my gosh. First off, one of my in the first month of this new mindset, again, I'd gone a month without drinking before, but not with this mindset
mm.
of learning and curiosity and not what am I losing, but what am I gaining. This is actually a good thing, not a bad thing. It's the best thing I can do for myself.
Oh, I love that. It's not what you're losing. It's not what you're giving up. It's what you're gaining. Looking
Right.
at what you're getting. Looking at that's amazing. No, I
Yes.
love that.
So it shifted everything because when I thought I was losing my reward, losing my treat, losing my,
Depriving yourself
yes,
of your pleasure and your yeah,
yep,
your anecdote to stress and calming the inner gerbil and but
yes.
actually, oh my gosh.
So I was starting to gain more clarity and I was starting to gain more stability. I did not realize until I
Mm,
did take a step back from drinking and began to learn about it from
mm,
that scientific perspective,
mm,
how much alcohol was literally like pouring gasoline on the fire of anxiety that was smoldering inside of me. I wouldn't say that people on the outside looking in would go, oh, Jen's a really anxious person. No, Jen's smiling, Jen's getting it done. But inside, I was anxious. And so I realized immediately that alcohol was actually making me more anxious. I was less anxious without it altogether. And so that was a dramatic shift for me, was just that craving loop that I was in. It
mm,
takes about 7 to 10 days to get alcohol and its effects out of your body. So most people don't go that long unless they're really making an effort. If you're just a casual
mm,
social drinker or you're in that gray area of just drinking on the weekends, or just, on book clubs, or just on date nights, or just in your kitchen when you're cooking, you're rarely getting a 10-day span because
mhm.
we do live in such an alcohol centric society and world, like we've talked about. So you're never out of that craving loop, almost
Wow.
ever. And so what happens is, and I get a little sciencey because to me it was very empowering. I thought it was just me. I thought, yeah,
No, I hear that. I hear that. I'm right now reading a book on strength training and what you learn and know you can't unhear.
you
And so
can't
it's
unknow or no. Yeah.
the science is very empowering. Talk to me about,
Yes.
is there a difference in your physical body between alcohol, such as the various alcohols for martinis and things, vodka and gin and all those things, versus having wine? Because I think wine is very glamorized and
Oh, right.
romanticized, and it's a whole culture of smelling it and labeling it and
Oh,
naming
right.
it. And talk to us about that. Well, it's not that bad. It's wine. Jesus
Right.
turned the
Oh,
water
you
into
mean
wine.
not the,
Man,
red wine and
Jesus
sugar?
turned the
Right.
water into
No,
wine.
it's been totally debunked. Even the American Heart Association has come out. The World Health Association has come out and said there is no level of alcohol that is beneficial for your body, period. Which again flies in the face of the marketing because they want you to think that there are some benefits, or the organic wines or the sulfate free wines. Guess what, guys? I know, trust me, I tried it all. I tried to really make it work.
You used a crowbar to try to fit everything just
I
right,
did,
right?
Denise. I
Oh, I
did.
hear
I even
that.
went through maybe I'll just sip the tequila instead of having the margarita because they say that that's even better. Like,
Yes.
what? But I did. So, like, I mean, girl, I tried it all. And here's the bottom line: ethanol is ethanol.
Wow.
And it really doesn't matter if it's a spirit, a beer, a wine, it is ethanol. And our bodies, it doesn't really know the difference between a good wine and a gin and tonic. It knows ethanol. And so I won't go into all the science right now because it would
Wow.
take a whole podcast, but it's fat. And I'm not a scientist, but I've learned enough to know that
Mhm.
your body, the minute you put ethanol of any kind in your body, this is just, y'all, this is just science and physical. No moral overlay here. It's just the physical aspect, which is, again, empowering. The minute you drink any kind of ethanol at all, your body goes into remove this toxin mode. Any fat burning, gone, done. It is going to have to be set aside. Any kind of immunity that you're working on building, it's going to be set aside. Your body has got to get that ethanol out. It cannot stay in your body. So your body sets the, like I said, the fat burning, the immune building, all the other things that we really do care about as we not even get older. I mean, just in our world of we're so health conscious, but somehow we give alcohol a pass. It's like we give it a hall pass and we just say, I'll eat gluten free and I'll have organic and I'll get my, $8 milk and I'll allow alcohol in. It's my one thing, or it's not that bad because I'm doing other things so healthy. And again, our bodies are resilient. God made our bodies to be able to handle an amazing amount of abuse
Yeah.
through our eating and drinking and just everything. So,
Yes, the grace of God. I was reading that the liver actually rebuilds itself. It's the one
yes,
organ that, I mean, it's like the grace of God, right?
yes,
But
yes,
I think as I look out there at those who might be listening today, and I think of mamas and their littles, and I
yes.
think I I just know that I don't want women to be robbed of the fullness of what God has made them to be for their children. And I wonder how you would reflect on perhaps um, how things shifted for you relationally, maybe in your marriage, maybe with your children. Is there anything that you can think of just to encourage women to reconsider and to think about the trade they might be making without really realizing it? Because they love their children with their lives. They die for them tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Um, but are they trading us the lesser, giving away the greater for the lesser, perhaps?
Yeah, I love that you brought us back there, Denise. I really do because I think you're spot on. I think that's really the bigger issue is we're trading in our presence for perfection or performance or
Mhm.
creating the right atmosphere or making sure that, they've got the right school uniform, that we're making things around them a certain way when really what they need is us.
Oh, so
They just need
true.
us. And our kids don't want our perfection. They do want our presence. They do want us to be all there in the evening when we're reading the book at night. They
Mhm.
do want us all there when they're young teenagers and they come in at curfew. Maybe they want to talk. Don't minimize yourself, ladies. I think too often as moms, we count ourselves out as being that place.
Yes.
For the blower.
Oh, no worries. It's always something.
Okay. Just got
You are speaking such life. You just keep going
okay.
because
I'm gonna
that
keep
is
going
the
because
truth.
women out there know about that too. It's got to be keeping it real, and that's what I've learned. Being a mom as long as I have is that kids want you real because how can they be real if you can't be real? They're dealing with real things. Okay, our children. I don't care if they're 6 or 16. They are dealing with real things, and if we're not there showing them how we deal with real things,
Mhm.
including hurt feelings or conflict or boredom or strife. how do we do it? I'd rather show kids
Mhm.
a little bit of the mess and show them how to navigate it than show them a life that's all cleaned up, all tidied up, all ducks in a row, and then check out in the evening and minimize my presence and show them what? Show them to be perfect all day and then check out all night?
Wow.
No, I'd rather just, you know, be the same day and night. I think that that's one of the biggest benefits of being
Mm,
sober-minded is I'm not living in duplicity. I don't live in duplicity.
mm,
I mean, when my life's a mess, it's a mess day or night.
mm,
I'm not trying to keep it all together all day and then
mm,
not lose it at night. Hey,
mm,
we're human. I'd rather them see me navigate a
mm,
problem, a stress, an
mm.
emotion, a negative emotion, or
Yes.
be a critical thinker instead of go, oh, mom has no problems. She's just
Mm,
getting everything done all day long, smiling with a get it done attitude. And then at
mm.
night, she's just kind of distant and just kind of far away. Where's mom? She's good. She's there. She's not doing anything wrong. She's not dropping a ball. Where's mom? You know?
Well, and I think as with young ones, it's very easy. We didn't have all the computers and the iPads and the things back in the 80s and the 90s so much, which once again, cell phones, I'm so grateful because it's easy to,
Yes.
to turn on a show and go pour your wine. And
Yes.
it just makes me sad for what women can be missing. And I think that the comparison, which is it's in our faces all day long, the
Totally.
beautiful Instagram shoots and all the social media and all the beautifulness. And I think that so many women, if you're listening, you're underestimating
Yes.
how amazing your life really, how amazing you are, first of all, how you are the only one who can parent your children in the way that they need to be parented. I might have amazing children, right? But I can't come into your house and do what needs to be done in your house because you are that precise, perfect tool God made in all your imperfectness. And I think that women can think, well, I'm not amazing, and my life is not amazing, and then we'll just get into our bottle and kind of escape that reality when actually you're exactly right, Jen. The reality is a beautiful thing if we're fully engaged and fully in trusting in the Lord and we're present. And it's amazing what our children remember that we just excuse as every day, or and it's
Right.
really giving yourself. You're exactly right.
Exactly. And really it allows God to work because
Hmm.
he's now brought into the picture because I do believe God works with what's real. He wants what's real. So to me it's like
Yes.
not this, yeah, this dualistic, this divided life, but it's like, oh, let's just stop and keep it real. And it's funny because I did have seasons throughout my mothering where drinking was smaller, and then seasons in my mothering life where it was bigger. There was a season in there where I homeschooled for 3.5 years.
Wow.
And there was a whole year in there where I didn't drink at all. Alcohol like turned down. This was after it had already turned up and come in.
Wow.
And so I didn't even drink for a whole year. And it was so wonderful. I just didn't attribute how wonderful life was to the absence of alcohol. I didn't put the
Wow.
two and two together, but that was definitely a theme because there wasn't that divided mind. I wasn't waiting for something to change. There was a contentment. And I think that's one of the other biggest things that I really love and enjoy about a sober minded lifestyle is God is increasing and continuing to increase in me as I continue to just lean into him, a contentedness. There's just a contentment. I'm not getting all this done so I can just be done and then
Mm,
eject. The reward is the
mm,
moment. The reward is being there, all there. And if
mm.
it does, if you, it's kind of like the weather. If you don't like it, just wait a minute; it'll change. There's something that comes, and some of this is getting older too, but of just a contentment of, yeah, I don't
Mm,
like my reality right now, or I don't like this feeling, but I can still feel it. I don't have to hang on to it. I can surf it. I can let it
mm,
go, And then guess what? I'm going to feel joy 10 minutes later. But if I'm numbing, Brene Brown says it best, you can't selectively numb. So if you're numbing the anxiety, the
Mm,
anger, the loneliness, the boredom, if you're numbing that, you're also numbing the joy, the
mm.
resilience, the contentment. It all numbs.
Boy, that's
Alcohol
good.
doesn't cherry pick and pick out, okay, I'm just going to numb these emotions and leave these.
Wow.
Alcohol or any numbing behavior or substance just takes them all down. So everything gets lower, everything gets dull, including the joy, including the contentment. And now I have it all in Technicolor, including the hard things, including those. But I'm more equipped to handle them because I'm not competing and wrestling with myself anymore. I'm not walking around with a fight inside. I can take
Wow.
that same bandwidth and just work on more coping skills that actually help in the moment.
Love it so much. I could just sit and pick your brain for it. There's so much richness and depth. And I imagine that since you have removed alcohol from your life, it's made room for so much more in your life and things that you would have missed. Um, I'm sure you've read more
Absolutely.
books. You've probably had more. You've probably nurtured more relationships. Obviously, your whole movement that you're nurturing every day. I would love you to tell me just a little bit about that because I think that, and it's a convo for another time, I'm sure. But as an influencer and a businesswoman, um, like what would you say to those listening who know they're called and passionate to serve others in some capacity? How did you start? How did you just do it? Did you start right away? Did you wait for a year? How did that unfold for you?
Yeah. Well, that's probably a book number two. Seriously, it's just the
Wow.
story of like, how did we
Wow.
get here? How did I go from a stay-at-home mom stuck in the wine o'clock loop
Yeah.
to now really wanting to change the world and change the conversation and invite more women into the conversation without having to pre-qualify with having, a super negative relationship with drinking. So yeah, so after I'd been alcohol free for about a year, and again, I'd done that before, but not like this. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I'd learned so much. And I looked at my husband, Craig, on Christmas evening of 2017, December 25th, 2017. And I looked at my husband, Craig, and I said, babe, oh, I just
Mm.
wish more women knew what I knew. Kind of like I made it through the holidays. And at that point, I
Wow.
realized my birthday, our anniversary, July 4th, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all the Christmas parties in 2017 were full blown. Trust me, people. The world
Wow.
was very social back then. Um, we're all going, and I, I was free. It wasn't about me not drinking as much as me moving towards this life of freedom. I was awakened to freedom. And I
Wow.
just said, I wish more women knew what I knew because if they knew what I knew, they may want to make a different choice. And he just being who God has, put purposed me with and put me with, just said, well, Jen, maybe I can help make your voice louder. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? How do we do that? Well, God had definitely been preparing and working in my life for the 25 years previous to this
Yeah.
point in time when I was 47, whether that be from my college experience, my experience in my sorority and leadership, or my time with Crusade, or running and owning my own business,
Wow.
having that marketing background, all of that culminating to prepare
Mm.
us really for this unique calling and assignment. And so kind of the rest is history, and it is quite a
Wow.
history. But we began going, okay, what would that look like to make my voice louder? Well, we need a platform of some kind. Well, I don't have a platform.
Yeah.
I did not have a platform at all. I was not on Instagram other than just myself showing
Mm.
pictures of flowers and my dogs and my kids. So to go from nowhere to actually wanting to get in the conversation, it just took a lot of time and a lot of building and a lot of hiring and working with business coaches, um, learning all about what's a funnel, what's a URL, What's a what's a lead magnet? What are you talking
Wow.
about? And learning the language of the business side, if you will, of being a digital marketer in an effort strictly only to get my message out. How can I, what levers of the internet do I need to push and pull to get the message out and scale it in a way that can reach the most women possible? How do I simplify to amplify? How do I take what I
Mm.
know as a regular person, that if it works for me, it's gonna work for somebody else, because I am the girl next door. I really am. And I'm like, if I can figure this out and I can experience this freedom and I can enjoy being a mom and a wife more and I can feel aligned in my own life, I want that for more moms. And yeah, so since then, it's been 6 years since I started Sober Sis. And you mentioned some pretty crazy stats there at the beginning of the podcast.
Amazing.
Just reach and numbers is something I've been doing pretty much all day, every day for 6 years, and
Wow.
passion.
Like a
And
whole new chapter, like a massive chapter.
oh
And
yeah,
to think of how all those women, all those, and there's far more than 200,000 I know that have,
for sure.
maybe they haven't downloaded it yet, but they're
They're out there.
watching.
They're listening now.
That's right. They're hearing, and it's growing. And I know that it's, like I said, I know it's just the beginning, but I'm so proud of you, and I'm so thankful that that you made the exchanges that you've made, the sacrifices you've made, and God used all the pieces of your lives, and now you're partnering again with your husband. It's awesome, and
Yeah.
I know that you listening out there, you, it's not like Jen's God's favorite. There's something for each of us. We're called,
That's right.
we're anointed, we're chosen for
That's right.
purpose, and I just long for those of you listening to be inspired, to perhaps renegotiate your relationship to alcohol, but even more, just dig deeper in Christ and find what He's saying to you, and run with it. Jenn, thank you so much for being with us. The place that I see you most often is Instagram. Would that be where listeners can find you and your book? I saw it on Amazon. Anything else you'd want to say about where to go or how to find you?
Yeah, that's great, Denise. Yes, I am active on Instagram and kind of see that as my hub. So you can always send me a DM there. I've got, of course, the link in bio with all the stuff there. But if you just go to sobersis.com, you can find that I've got even a free guide for wine o'clock tonight. If you're like, Jenn, I'm hearing you, this is resonating. Or like Denise said, if drinking's not your thing, maybe just getting into the mindset of how can I be more present, more
Mm,
awake, alert, aware in my own life. Where are you in valuing your presence and the presence that you bring into your family? And so I do hope that my book can
mm.
inspire that, for sure. And then every month I lead women through a challenge to set it down for just a bit and take a break, look at it, and then decide if it fits back in their life or not.
Every single month. I love that. Jenn,
Yeah.
thanks again for being with us. I'm honored to have
Yeah.
spent the time with you. And
Well,
I know those listening are benefiting, and I'm reminded of the scripture, that Jesus said he's come to bring us life and life abundant. And that's what I'm hearing in this whole
yes.
conversation, is that you're pursuing that abundant life that Christ promised. And if you're out there not sensing that, not feeling that, hit me up, hit Jenn up. We are here for you, and we long for that for you. God bless, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you've just now heard my interview with Jenn Kautsch, Sober Sis Movement Coach, Part 2, make sure to listen to Part 1. It is so rich and full and comprehensive, so much value. I just know you're going to love it and you're going to want to share it. So just scroll up on any podcast app that you happen to be listening on, and you're going to find Sober Sis Movement Coach Jenn Kautsch, Part 1 with Denise Mira on revolutionary parenting. Thanks so much for tuning in.